What's up, everybody? Adam, Ride Life. I am walking to get my bike. It's been in storage for the last week and a half or so. I've not been able to ride my bike, and man, I have missed it. But I am walking to go get it right now, to get it out of this barn, and I get to ride a little bit today, and I get to take you with me, and I am super excited about it. Oh man, does it feel good to be back on the bike again. So let me fill you in about what's been going on the last week and a half, 2 weeks. So we sold our house. We closed on our house. That went flawlessly, no surprises, and everything was on plan for us to spend a few days in limbo between when we sold our old house and when we moved into our new house. However, there was a issue on our new house that's taking time to get repaired, and that needs to be fixed before we can move in. And so the time of our limbo has been extended. Everything is still on track, but we're just having to wait a little bit longer before we can get into our new house. So when it's all said and done, it's not going to be a huge deal, but for now, me and my wife and our sons, we are floating. We are so thankful for family and friends who have let us stay at their house and take over their home. We've stayed with family, we've stayed with friends, we've gone camping, anything to find a place to stay. God has really blessed us with some great friends who have let us stay at their home. But that's where we are now. Things are tricky right now, but the Lord is good. He has blessed us with wonderful friends who have helped us along the way, and things are going well. We couldn't be. So, because of that and a few other things in life going on, I've been wrestling with a lot of anxiety and fear in my life. I was reading in Judges, and the Lord really spoke to me through the story of Gideon and his testing of the Lord with the fleece when the Lord told him to go to war against the Midianites and save the Israelites from under the oppression of the Midianites. And I just found that I could relate really well to Gideon. Gideon was kind of a fearful guy. And when he began to test the Lord with his fleece experiment, I began to wonder, is this right to test the Lord in this way? Is this acceptable for him to do this? You can understand why he would be afraid. We see earlier in Judges chapter 6 that the Midianites are described like a swarm of locusts. Their forces are innumerable. So you can understand why Gideon would be afraid. Later in, I think, chapter 7, the Lord dwindles Gideon's forces down to 300 men. So you can understand why Gideon would be afraid, why he would want assurance from the Lord that this is what he wanted him to do. So I wondered, is it good for Gideon to want to get assurance from the Lord about his direction, or is this some sinful anxiety that Gideon is dealing with? So that's the question. Is this a matter of weak faith on Gideon's part, or is it sinful anxiety? Or is there even a difference? Is weak faith the same as sinful anxiety? So I've just been wrestling with that question. I don't really have a clear answer or a clear leaning, except it's just something that I'm wrestling with, something that I'm thinking through. You can let me know in the comments section what you think. Weak faith or sinful anxiety? Both, neither, somewhere in between. What do you think about that? But here's the thing that I was most encouraged about. The thing that I was most encouraged about is, though Gideon gives this test to God, when we get into chapter 7 of Judges, God never reprimands him. Instead, God kind of allows it to happen. He allows Gideon to work through his fears, and he confirms to Gideon that, yes, this indeed is what I want you to do. And he even says, I think it's in verse 10 of chapter 7, if you're still afraid to go against the Midianites, take your servant, go into their camp, and listen to the dream that one of their soldiers has had. And as he obeys and does this, he learns that this particular Midianite has had a dream, and he's afraid. He knows that the Lord is going to give them into the hands of the Israelites. And that gives Gideon the confidence that he needs to proceed and obey the Lord fully. And God was gracious to let him have that. So I don't want to just skate over the fact that Gideon was afraid and potentially not trusting in the Lord in his fear. That's something that on all level we probably all need to work on. I tend to be an anxious, fearful person. I tend to believe the worst about scenarios in my life, difficult scenarios, that the worst thing is going to happen. And it's a struggle for me sometimes to trust the Lord in the face of difficulty. But here's a thought that I had as I was walking through this passage. I've often believed that fear is the opposite of trust. I don't think that's the case anymore. Fear is misplaced trust. Though Gideon might not have had full trust in the Lord, he was trusting in something. He was trusting in military might. He even said when God first called him, God, how can I save Israel? My clan is the weakest, and I am the weakest among them. So he was trusting in military might in that moment. And as we get into chapter 7, we can see that God is mercifully, graciously working in Gideon's life to prune those things out of his life that are holding Gideon's trust over the Lord. That's why he dwindled Gideon's army. So he was trusting in military might, but he was also putting weight on the supposed confidence of the Midianites to win the battle. I think that's why God took him to the Midianite camp and let him hear the dream that Midianite soldier had, that God indeed was not going to allow the Midianites to be victorious, but that he was going to give them over to the Israelites. So though fear may mean we are not fully trusting in the Lord is gracious. He gives us room to fear. He graciously helps us work through those fears. He doesn't just throw us into our deepest fears and say, get over it. I suppose maybe sometimes he might. But in this case, he is gracious and patient with Gideon as he works through his fears and helps him redirect his faith in the Lord. So another question came to my mind, and it's a question that I want to ask you as well. What am I afraid of? What are you afraid of? What is it that I and you are putting our trust in over the Lord's presence and the Lord's goodness and the Lord's sovereignty in our lives? Think about that today, and whatever it is, confess your fear to him. Ask him for help to work through those things that you can trust the Lord. I hope you have a blessed day. Be faithful to the Lord. Make it your aim to please the Lord in everything you do. If you enjoyed this video, found it encouraging, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you won't miss any new content from Ride Life. Have a faithful day.